Well, Ricky and Jeffrey, I'm pretty sure you're going to have some fairly stern things to say. Where shall we begin?
Well, I think if you look at that was frantic batting, not prepared to do the hard yards. You've got to earn the right to get big scores. You don't just go out there and throw your hands at the ball in Australian conditions. You know when you come to Australia, you know the Kookaburra ball, whether it's red or pink, you know the first spells it's going to do a bit. You know it might bounce a little bit. You know that as a team. Yet you go out throwing your hands at the ball in the first session of a day. And I just look at the England batting, and we're only, 3 days into the second test match. And it looks to me like, it took me 3 days last time in 2013-14 to suggest, and England fans will probably murder me for saying this. This team have got a lot of hard work to do from what I've seen in this test series to avoid a whitewash again this time.
Oh dear. We talked last night, didn't we, about playing a natural game but not being led into temptation. They've all fallen for it.
Well, they certainly have, but it's been stark contrast to Brisbane. If you think about when Vince and Stoneman and those guys got runs in Brisbane, they occupied the crease for a long time. They didn't get out of their bubble or their comfort zone, but look at the way they've all started their innings today. Stoneman started in a rush last night, got out. Vince, third ball of the day, tries to force off the back foot where there's a wicket with some seam assistance and extra bounce from Hazlewood. Then Root comes out and tries to play an expansive cover drive 10 balls into his innings. They didn't do that in Brisbane, so it just, to me, seems like because they're behind in the game and Australia having batted first and got 440, they're trying to get there as quickly as they can. That won't work.
I think that's lilac, but I suspect you're puce, aren't you, with anger, Mr. Boycott?
It's part anger because they batted poorly, really bad thinking, and part sadness and disappointment for all our viewers. We're going to watch, a great series, Ashes, traditionally the cricket. There's 8,000 supporters here, and they're not putting up much of a fight. They're playing at balls wide of the stumps, and we said all along, all you have to do, let the ball go. If you don't have to play it when you're under pressure, chasing second innings, let it go, let it go. The bowlers get fed up of you not playing, the ball's straight, you pick it off on the onside, that's the safe area, the easy area. What did I say last night? Get to the break, don't lose wickets, never mind the runs, they'll take care of themselves. And it's exactly what Australia did. Not one person in the Australian side smacked it around. Marsh earned the right, as Eastwood said, by batting a long time, and later on, only later on, did he play extravagant shots. And I just wonder what the hell goes on in the dressing room. They say they're laid back, they say they're up for the fight. That's not fighting, that's not thinking, it's thinking cricket. They're not doing it, they're just giving it away.
Well, let's start with the wickets because they feel cheap to me as a non-specialist watching. James Vince, classic example of a waft.
Oh, yeah, it's just an OK ball from Josh Hazlewood. That ball should have been going through to Tim Payne, having left it. I mean, it's a nice ball to receive, actually, early in the innings because you kind of get a good visual of it. He just played a push-2 shot through the offside, and clearly that's his mindset, is to try and work the ball through the offside. But at this level, against this quality, Hazlewood, Stark and Cummins are very, very good. You've just got to give yourself a chance to get used to the conditions, the extra bounce, and just try and wear the opposing team down, get them into the second spell, the third spell, and then you can start playing strokes like that.
The only good news about that, from where I was sat, was we've got Cook and Root now. Let's see if the dynamic duo can save England. Well, it didn't last very long. The captain succumbed again to an extravagant shot, Ricky.
Yeah, well, he actually started well as well. The Australians attacked him nice and full and straight, and he worked a few through the leg side. Looked like he was seeing the ball well and moving well, and that was really the first one they tempted him with outside the off stump. And he went for that big drive. He didn't get his head forward enough into the ball. He didn't get his front foot close enough to the pitch of the ball. And it might have just moved away a fraction as well. But 10 balls into your innings, playing a drive like that.
That concerns me about Joe, because that ball is there to drive. And when he's playing well, that ball goes to the boundary. His foot movement at the minute and his balance and his head position, it's not in its best position like we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years. So that concerns me, of all the dismissals, that he's not playing well enough to hit that ball at this stage.
Look, it's the great players not only are good players in their own right, technically, they play to the position of the game. Okay? If you're a flat pitch, you're setting the tempo, fine. Here we're up against it. Anytime you are batting second and the side batting first has got 400, then you really have to bat properly and well and carefully. And he didn't. I think he didn't even have to play it.
Right.
Early in his innings like that, in the situation we are, the ordinary batting side England are, 1-0 down, he didn't have to play. You have to play to situations, not play the same game all the time.
You could ask, would Steve Smith play that shot in those circumstances?
No,
He got off the mark with 2 beautiful cover drives. You know, he hit one through extra cover. You know, when Joe Root's playing well, that goes for 4. I'm more concerned where that head's gone. You know, his head's going over to the offside, and when he's played the drive, that bat leg's collapsed, so he's not getting the force back through the ball. That concerns me about Joe Root. That ball, he knocks that to the boundary regularly. You know, when he's playing well at the minute, he's just not quite in the right position.
The other senior batsman, Alistair Cook, did get in, got hard work, didn't he, for his 30+. So we'll see a couple of his shots before we see his dismissal, Ricky.
Yeah, and he did play well. He did look solid in defence. He was trying to wear the bowlers down and waiting on the right balls to play extravagant shots to his and player missed one there. Defence looked pretty tight, but it was once again a really good piece of bowling from Nathan Lyon, who's troubled all the left-handers in this series so far, hasn't he? There was a change of field position just before the dismissal as well. Steve Smith brought in the 2 slips. He seemed to get a cut shot away there. Past the outside edge there, and then just goes a little bit harder, doesn't he? Pushes one that's outside the line of his body. Once again, Jeffrey, he does not have to play it. Didn't have to play it, that ball, and the face of the bat wasn't square either. The face of the bat was open.
Because it's wide. He cannot get the full face of the bat because he's playing it wide. So you're playing with a half or 2/3 of a bat.
Jeffrey, I think you've got to give Steve Smith a lot of credit. He put 2 slicks in place.
Yeah,
he put cover point on the boundary. He said, all right, if he bowls it short, you're not going to get a 4. And I just wonder if Alistair Cook saw that gap on the boundary, opened the base, think, I'll just get a 1. Brilliant captaincy.
It was good bowling. They pitched it up a lot more than England right from the word go. But the fact is, you have to counteract that as a good player, don't you? They're not just going to bowl where you want it. They do things and try and get you out. You've got to counteract it.
Yeah.
And we didn't. And it wasn't a great shot. He played well up to then, I agree. Played much better. And it's disappointing when you just see sloppy shots.
Let's also have a look at David Malan. Also has gone similarly, having got a start, really. That's a soft one.
Cummins is, for me, been the pick of the Australian trio. I mean, they're all very, very good, but this young kid, he's had so many injuries, and I think, you just see that extra bit of bounce. Yes, he could have left it. He'll feel a little bit unlucky that the inside edge went. Generally, when you get an inside edge, it goes down to fine leg, but you know, terrific bowling. I have to say, Cummins just kind of dangles that carrot full of length, and every now and again he unleashes that short, sharp bounce. He's not an easy bowler to face.
Well, blimey, there's a mountain to climb for England here. 128.45 as things stand. Bairstow and Ali still there, but how much work is there to do to just